Molly Levine. Molly, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I guess I'll be honest and say it's kind of sometime during quarantine, it was day by day. I've now kind of had some days where it's like hour to hour, depending on what I've read, what I've watched, what I've heard, who I've talked to. It's sort of I'm taking it every day. I'm trying to practice a little self care. It's just a lot. Yeah, it's a lot going on. I think everyone feels the same way, and everyone has different ways of handling it. My risk tolerance is about zero, I would say. So it's really stressful, to be
It
honest. Yeah.
is. There are so many sources of and causes of anxiety right now. And unfortunately, there don't seem to be many healthy outlets, right? It just keeps ratcheting up rather than stepping back.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Groundhog Day. So like every day, it's like when normal life is happening, normal life, and something stressful, you think, okay, well, tomorrow, like I could do this, or now it's like you wake up every day, you're like, here we go again. It's the same thing. So there's no like just break from that mental exhaustion of everything that's happening. So I try to thank God for Peter who posts the numbers every day for us. I sort of like read what he says and then I just try to kind of move on from it because it's so all out of our hands, other than voting. It's all out of our hands. So I try. I'm not very good at it. I am probably a more anxious person than the average person. So being in a pandemic it's not great.
I hear you, and that is a great plug for the amazing work that Peter Redunzel has been doing. I encourage everyone to check it out, and I've posted a link to his Facebook page and the graphs he posted in the comment section. Part of that anxiety, I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess, is caused not only by having two teenagers you're trapped with 24 hours a day, but having two teenagers navigating the start of a school year that looks unlike any other they or we or anyone has experienced. How's that going?
It's definitely interesting. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know our family, I have a son Ben who's 17. So he's driving now, and he got a car, which has actually been a saving grace, even though it was terrifying in and of itself. And then Mia is 13, going on 14 January, and she's in eighth grade. So 11th and 8th. So it's some pretty pivotal years. They were home obviously since March 13th. So even though the new school year started, it kind of just felt like one long. We had like a big long break for summer, and then it just kind of picked back up where we left off, but with new teachers. And our school, Mount Lebanon, has gone hybrid, but Sean and I have chosen to keep our kids at home. There were just too many variables, risks, just too many things that we weren't willing to navigate. That's not to judge anyone that chose to do that. I think everyone has to make their own decision with that. But for us, it was the best thing to keep them home. They're actually doing amazing, which I think is probably not unusual for kids. I think they're much more flexible than we are as adults, and adaptable, I guess. So they've done really, really well. Mia has a learning disability, so school is a really big struggle for her. And being at home has actually freed her in ways we never could have seen. And it's actually something I've been reading about. A lot of kids in special education have really been thriving in at-home school. So it's kind of something they're starting to look at. Why is that? Why are kids more comfortable? Not all, but some kids more comfortable at home. And it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of stressors removed. Sitting still all day. She can get up, move around. She's in her own room. There's no social interaction, which can be very, very stressful, especially as you and I know in middle school, which is
Middle school is the hazing ritual for the rest of life.
the fifth ring of hell, basically. And for Ben, it's a little bit harder because he's in 11th grade and he's a little more social. But with his car, we've let him see two people. So he basically can like pick them up. They do a lot of eating of fast food, and they sit outside, and that's it. We don't really let them do anything else, which is hard because they see things online. They know people are having parties and fake homecomings and all these different things, and we've chosen to not do those things. So they are sort of always aware because of social media what they're missing out on. But they understand. We have my parents who are very high risk. They also live 5 minutes from us, right next door to Temple. And their safety and their health is priority number one. So we do see them on a regular basis. And in order to do that, we have to live a different way. And my kids understand that and they respect that, which I really appreciate, because this pandemic on people that are older is the worst. For as hard as it is for kids or for people like you and me, being older and being isolated is horrible.
That is absolutely true. And to be able to make those sacrifices in a way that shows how important family is to your nuclear immediate family is hopefully a life lesson they will take with them.
Right. And I tried, I try to remember for my own self, but to remind them, like, even though it doesn't seem like it, this is finite. And we'll have lessons from it and we'll learn so much from it. I think most people will be better people from it. And my kids will definitely be better people from it. But there are sacrifices, like you said, that come from living life differently than maybe other people around you are. They didn't really seem to want to go back to school once they saw the images online of the cardboard things and masks and walking one day way down the hallways. They both said that doesn't look fun, which was good. So I didn't have any pushback in that way, which I know some of my friends had kids who wanted to go or didn't want to go. So it's I always say there's no handbook for parenting. They kind of hand them to you at the hospital and you just sort of pray that you're not going to screw them up, which you are going to screw them up, but, irrevocably, I guess. But this is something none of us ever foreseen how we would handle it as parents, as children of our own parents. It's so many layers.
That's right. And I think as parents, it is easier to do well in a situation that you have had time to personally digest and come to terms with. And when you're living through something that you're experiencing with all of the emotions and hardships at the same time your young people are. Right. That's hard.
Right. Yeah, normally the things that they go through, for the most part, we've gone through. So we can say to them, oh, when someone broke up with me, or when that person was mean to me, or when I failed that class or whatever, we can really relate, even though they don't think we can and they don't believe us, but we can. This is something like my parents even say, they've never experienced anything like this in their lifetime. So we're all just, really in the dark, just trying to have grace and get through it the best that any of us really can.
It's all you can be doing right now. I imagine keeping Molly and Ben kind of plugged in is a full-time endeavor right now. What else are you and Sean up to? What is keeping you busy during this time?
Well, Sean just got a new job. Our life had been very great and difficult at the same time. He lost his job in January, so sort of right before this happened, he unexpectedly lost his job. So we were sort of navigating that when this all happened. And I kind of feel like, you're a rabbi, so this will sound funny, but I have a hard time thinking things happen for a reason or God plans things for us or whatever. I have a hard time with that because there's so much crap. So I feel like I can't imagine someone wants us to be going through all this, but in the end, I feel like it all did sort of happen for a reason, because he didn't get a job until recently. So we were home for 7 months together. And that was it's a good test of a marriage, to be together for 7 months. But we got to kind of live through all of it so far. I wish it were over and we just said, oh, we were together while all of it was happening and then it ended, but it didn't. So we got to sort of navigate it all together and be parents together. And that was really great. Although on top of that, you have the stress of, well, your unemployment's not going to last and all of those things that came with it. So I guess now he has started working about 2 months ago. So that was sort of a switch. How do we do this now? I'm here. And then I had to manage my anxiety with him being out in the world because we were very isolated here. We were kind of in a little bubble. and now he's in the world, and that is its own thing. So that's kind of been really what's taking up our time, is just how to kind of have a new normal from the other new normal. And him just kind of acclimating to being in the world. He said it's very strange, because you can't interact with people because everyone's faces are covered. You can't smile at anybody. So yeah, we've just been kind of dealing with all of that. I have been obsessively organizing, which I do actually love to do, but this has ramped it up. I don't know if you've watched the show The Home Edit on Netflix, which has created more of a monster than I probably already was. So I've been redoing all my cabinets and getting containers, and I love decorating, so I've just been trying to get little things here and there, mostly on Facebook. Mount Lebanon has a great page where people buy and sell to each other just in our little community, so you feel safe. You leave it on your porch, so it saves everything from landfills, so it's great. So I've just been kind of trying to keep myself a little bit busy that way. But to be honest, mostly it's a lot of downtime. I try to get out of my head as much as I can, but that's all I can do.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the way you answered that question. And if you'll permit me just a slight divergence or a plug, recognizing how hard this time is. There is often a difference between loving one's family and loving them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you have no other options. There are many, many families and individuals who are experiencing stresses and strains of changing times. And I guess I would say to anyone who is listening, you're not alone. Everyone is experiencing that, and please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out. Clergy can be good sounding boards who don't have to solve a problem, but can just sit with you in that challenge. And so thank you for your honesty for what we're all experiencing right now.
I think it's really important, because I think that people, it's very easy to go, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, and it's okay to say I'm not okay. There's days I'm not okay. There's days where I cry a lot. There's days where I feel stressed. I feel like I'm not a good enough mom, wife, daughter. It's a lot. And, this is kind of a funny story. I went to have a physical the other day, and the doctor said, how are you? I was just there for a checkup, and I started crying. I was like, Molly, you're not a psychiatrist. But I really did. It was just her asking me that just made me so emotional, because it's such a loaded question now. And we're very quick to say, I'm good. How are you? I'm fine. And in normal life, I think that's probably okay. And you have a few people in your life where you really answer the question. But I think right now you need to really be honest, because I think people do feel alone, like you're saying, because everyone says, I'm okay. And I hope for you it's the same thing, because when you're a sounding board for everybody, and you're someone who's a pillar of, I lead a temple, and I'm, this person, it's important for people like you too to have other people in your life for you to say, I'm not okay, because you're dealing with everybody else's problems. So I hope you have that too.
Very much so, and thank you. Absolutely. Okay. So, you are, in addition to organizing, in addition to navigating this world, also of tremendous help to Temple. When the pandemic isn't happening, you are often seen celebrating and helping celebrate so many smachot, so many happy occasions at Temple, and also volunteering on what was our LGBTQ plus task force, and is now expanding to be a greater inclusion and diversity task force, making sure that everyone in the Temple community has a place and is represented. I'm curious what drew you to that work, what you're hoping for Temple's future by being involved in that way.
Sure. It's very layered for me. I was thinking about this today, knowing you were going to talk about this, because I think it's easy to just say, well, I want everyone to feel welcome and I want everyone to feel equal. I know not everyone feels that way, so it's hard for me to relate to people that don't feel that way. And I kind of don't have people in my life that don't feel like that. But I think from a very young age, I've always sort of had this, I don't want to use the word underdog because that's a terrible word, but I've always just been kind of drawn to people that would be on the fringe or on the outside. It's probably how I was raised. My parents were more by example than lesson. There was never sitting down and really having these big, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so we weren't having teachable moments all the time about, how you should treat people. And I did not go to church or temple, so I didn't have a lot of lessons my kids have learned at temple. But it was more by their example of how they treated people. They were always helping people, kind of taking people in. Someone would just show up for dinner and then become lifelong family friends. And I think that from a really early age. And then it just sort of morphed for me into wanting to make sure that someone, say LGBTQ, always felt like there was no difference. I always say to my kids, we have very big dinner brunch talks in my house. We have lox brunch every Saturday. And we have these discussions, and my kids I've talked to them about people being gay or bisexual or transgender since they were very, very, very little, like 4 or 5. Because I always say to them, I want to get to a place where we don't talk about people like that. Like someone doesn't come out and you say, oh, that celebrity is gay. Like, I want to get to the point where who cares? I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter. And I don't mean it doesn't matter to that person, but it matters in our society so much so that it has to matter to that person so much. And, you know, we were just talking about that the other day. Like, when do people have to stop coming out and making declarations? You and I don't have to do that as cisgender people. We don't have to go up to people and say, just so you know, I'm straight. It's like, so that's part of it for me. Also, I grew up in Mount Lebanon, and that is a double-edged sword. You know, it's a great place to grow up. It's very safe. It's a good education, which you don't know until you leave and go to college that you got a good education. But it's very white, and it's very, everyone, much, much more so when I was a kid than now. It is starting to change somewhat. When I was a kid, I graduated with 388 people, and I would say 384 of them were white. So I always kind of had this idea that this isn't what the world looks like. And when I went to college, I was like, okay, this isn't what the world looks like. And I was glad about that. So I think the other thing is people that don't, I know you know this, but some people that don't know me, I grew up, my mom is Jewish and my dad is Irish Catholic. His name is Forrest Patrick McConaughey. So growing up, no one ever knew I was Jewish because my name was Molly McConaughey, although Molly was my mom's mother. So my Jewish grandmother was Molly. But I, am pale and have lots of freckles and blue eyes. And people just kind of always assumed I was just Irish. And I didn't have Jewish family really growing up except for one aunt and a few of my mom's cousins. So a Jewish identity was kind of a hard thing for me to find. And I'm still finding it. I'm still looking for what it means to me to be Jewish. I'm actually really grateful, not to get sappy, but I'm really grateful to have you in my life now because I never really felt like I could say things like that before to a rabbi. Rabbis were very different people in my life up till you. And I think that it should be okay to say, I don't know how I feel. I don't know what that means to me. I feel real pride in it, but I think it's okay to say religiously, I don't know how it feels because when you don't grow up in a religion, it's kind of hard to know how you feel as an adult. Once you're already cynical and you've had a lot of life experiences and all of these things, religion is a very big idea. So I try to focus on the little ideas of it. And what I try to tell my kids, I love the classes they've had at Temple when you learn about the kind of person to be. Because to me, that's really the core of anything. And if you're not focusing on that, all the other stuff, God or whatever, none of that really matters if you're not a good person. So I think for me, I just want Temple to be like that. I want it to be like, I'm Jewish and I don't know what that means. I'm Jewish and I love being Jewish. I'm not Jewish, but I'm married to someone that's Jewish. I'm gay, I'm black, I'm whatever it is. It should just be a place where you can go and you feel at home. And that, ironically, before the pandemic started, I really started to feel like that when I was there. I'm sure you sensed it from me, although you didn't know me pre-you because you weren't there. But it was a more daunting place to me before. And it was a very religious place, and now it feels more like a home place. And I think that's how it should feel, because I think if you're not questioning your religion or what you believe, you're not really thinking about it. And you're not really thinking what it means. And I remember, if I can just say this really quick, when Sean and I were engaged, and Sean is Jewish and comes from conservative Jewish family. They're all sort of mixed now. Some of them are conservative, some of them are Orthodox, some of them are Reform. They eat pork, they don't eat pork, they eat pork out, but not in the house. A lot of different things going on. But we actually were married by a rabbi at Tree of Life. And I remember meeting with him, and I remember saying, I don't really know. I felt kind of fraudulent having a Jewish wedding because I never really was Jewish, other than celebrating the holidays every year. We had a Christmas tree, we had Hanukkah, we had Easter, we had Passover. So, and he said to me, that's okay. And it's okay to question, and it's okay. And I said to him, I don't know that I even believe in God, because for all of my teens and 20s, I said that I was agnostic. And I don't think I even knew what that meant. I think it was just like, I don't want to subscribe to something. And I always felt like religion was very boxed and very like, you had to believe these are the rules, these are the writings, this is what you believe, and you can't sway. And I, it's hard to say to him, I don't know if I believe in God, to a rabbi. And he said that was okay. And it really helped me to enjoy that day. And then when Ben was going to start becoming a bat mitzvah is when we really joined Temple, and we put him in Hebrew school. And Sean and I took a Hebrew class with Melinda. And that was really the beginning for me of just feeling like I can't remember one thing I learned in that class, FYI. But I got connected to some people there. Obviously, we are very, very close to Melinda. And it just sort of showed me it's okay. You can still be here. You can come. You're saying things at services. I have obviously no idea what you're saying. In Hebrew, I can't read Hebrew. But I've started to just let myself say, like, that's okay. And if it makes you feel a certain way, which it does, I feel better when I'm there with all of you. And I think that that's really the purpose of it. So to circle back around, I just want everyone to feel like that. And I want it to be, like we talk about in our committee, our task force, that we want it to be a welcoming place that's not just accommodating. I don't want to always be coming up with having a kid with special needs. I get it. We're always thinking, how do we accommodate to make her life better? Well, I don't know. Maybe the world should start just accommodating everybody else, so we don't have to keep coming up with accommodations. So that is what I want for our temple.
I love it. And what I want to insert a shameless plug, Melinda is about to teach another session of adult Hebrew, and I would encourage anyone who is interested to comment, to shoot me or Rabbi Locketts or Melinda herself an email. But to pull one of the many threads, and I look forward to getting to continue to discuss everything you've just said. I'm glad the temple feels like a home, like a warm and safe place to be. God knows there are enough challenges in this world. It is important to have those spaces, and I look forward to getting to work together to make that true for everyone.
Yes.
Which is really important.
Yes.
So one last question for you, and I'm so grateful for your time and this opportunity for us to get to spend this time together, for keeping the temple connected in a fun new virtual way. When you find moments of fun, what does that look like? Is that solitaire? Is that something cool you're watching or reading? Or what are you doing that's enjoyable these days?
Well, I used to like to read, but the pandemic has sort of killed that for me, to be honest, because I have a hard time silencing my brain enough to read a book. I've been reading the same book since June, where the crawdads sing, and yeah. I think it's a really good book, but I just can't get myself there right now. So we watch a lot of movies. We're a big movie, TV family. We were talking earlier, we have all the streaming. We love the Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. So we did 2 nights this weekend. We all watched a movie together, which is to get 2 teenagers to come sit and watch a movie with you. Now, one was an Adam Sandler movie that was very painful. Very painful. QB Halloween. I don't recommend it. Your kids are too little, but you'll get a kick out of it. But it's really bad, but it was just fun escapism. We do game nights. We love to play games, so we'll all just kind of sit around the table, and that's getting more challenging to come up with. Like, they're a little older, so they need teen games, but not adult games. So we're trying to find, if anyone has any ideas, games for our kind of ages, 17 and almost 14. So we love to do games. We see my parents, we hang out, they come here, we do Steeler Sundays when we can. We did go for a fall foliage drive last weekend with my mom and dad, which was really nice because we never go anywhere. So everywhere we went was packed, so we never got out of the car. And then we ended up at Sheets in Slippery Rock, PA, which is where I went to college, and we ate nachos and subs in the car. So that's about as exciting as it gets for the Levine family. But yeah, like I said, we're just trying to really stay safe. So we're not really doing things. And we're just trying to be here.
Emily will be the first person to say the reason we've had kids was so that we would have more game players in the house. I very much look forward to when this is over, getting together and getting to compare game libraries and choosing something to play together.
That would be great.
Wonderful. Well, Molly, thank you so much for taking this time. A true delight to get to hear what you have been up to. I wish you strength and fortitude as we navigate these next couple of weeks, these next couple of months, God willing, an end to Groundhog Day soon.
I agree. Hopefully we're on the other side of this soon. And I'm very grateful for you and Emily and everything you've done for our family. And we're all in the boat. So that's all we can do is show grace and be there for each other. And I thank you very much for your friendship.
Amen. Thank you.